Hi, this is Maria Mandarino. I'm here today again with Julie Jacobs. We're going to be continuing our series on parenting and the Enneagram. Today we're going to focus on Enneagram Type 5, the observer. Before we begin, I'm going to have Julie introduce herself, tell us what's going on in your practice and how to find you, all that good stuff.
Okay. So my name is Julie. I'm with Windhorse Counseling. We're here in Chandler, Arizona. I offer sessions in person, virtually, so video or telephonically if people prefer that. So you don't have to be close by in order to take advantage of our services here. I do lots of individual work, looking at putting together some groups. I love doing groups, um, but I hate getting it all together because it's complicated. Um, and I appreciate any feedback. We're looking at groups on adulting for young adults who are getting ready to launch and the questions that they have. And some parents, I think, would be surprised at what their kids are afraid of or concerned about or feel they don't know. And to have a open space for them to have those conversations and get some
Mm.
support. Because some of the things that they think are really daunting are, this is not a big deal. Why are you afraid of it? Right.
Yeah.
So we're looking at putting together something like that. Any feedback that the audience has, I would love to hear it. We're also looking at putting together a group for people who have recovered from or left a very high demand faith, religion. You can keep your faith and not practice
Mm.
in the way other people are. And that's become a huge thing lately, is
Yeah.
that people are having thoughts about how they were raised in whatever faith it is and how that is almost in their DNA
Yeah. Yeah.
and what that's like. And it's a very difficult thing for people to find support with
Yeah.
because you can't ask the people you're closest to who are in your community
Yeah.
and who is safe to reach out to. And it's like they live a double life. And so I really would like to create a space for people who are in that to support each other
Mm.
and validate each other's experiences. It's been very eye-opening
Yeah.
and definitely something that I see a need for. So if that's something
Mm.
people are interested in, we are leaving it open to whether it's going to be in person or virtual, and love feedback about that as well.
Oh, awesome.
So I have the website and email is windhorsecounseling@outlook.com. And you can always call our office at 480-459-9994.
Oh, awesome. I have a question about the group for the adulting, the
Yeah.
young adults. Um since the post-COVID
Mm,
years, do you think any of that? Because I'm kind of seeing that. It's just kids don't know how to
absolutely.
re-enter because this is all new to them.
Absolutely, and some of them were not encouraged to re-enter,
Yeah.
and so now they're
Hmm.
really in a space of fear.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Yeah.
they they don't like to talk to strangers on the phone.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where they don't even wanna reach out via email.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
um,
Wow.
and to not have information, to not connect with people has to be very isolating and scary,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm glad you're doing that work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And before we jump into type 5 today, I should mention Julie and I are also kicking around doing like a monthly group on the Enneagram, with her, leading with the counselor voice and me with the spiritual direction voice. Kind of just have a monthly committed group, the same group, committing to exploration with the Enneagram. So, and that would be virtual. So we're kicking that around. It's going to really depend on interest. So
Mm.
so reach out and let us know if you'd be interested in doing that. My website, mariamandarino.com, Julie, windhorsecounseling.com. Okay, so let's talk about type 5. Reasoning behind doing this series is parenthood changes things, whether you're planning your family, whether you're a new parent, whether you are already a parent and know you could go back and do some things better and start moving forward differently. These episodes are for that purpose, to make you more self-aware, to make you aware of your needs, how your behavior in the Enneagram is really a response to either knowing or not knowing your needs, hopefully knowing them. And that getting your needs met as a parent is not selfish or wrong, that it's actually, there's everything right about it when we do it in a healthy way. And we're going to talk about what presses your buttons, what stresses you out as a parent, and where you can regain your power as a parent through the Enneagram. So type fives, and I'm in the type 5 club, so so a little bit of type bias here maybe, but I think it could potentially be tough for a type 5 to enter into the parenting role. Basically
No,
because
there's lots of books on it. Sorry.
shout out to all my fives who are here looking for information. Julie and I joke about that. Our type 5 episodes have had a good attendance. Let's just leave it at that. You guys are great at looking for the information and the books and the episodes. So so thank you for being here.
Yes.
But but fives don't like intrusion. And I can't think of many things in the world beyond being a parent that are more intrusive or potentially intrusive. Um, so so let's put awareness around that. You know, it's a high priority to not have intrusion for a 5.
Mhm.
Another thing is time. They need their decompression time, first of all. Um, they value privacy. And again, getting back to time, having their time respected. Um, having the opportunity to seek information, and highest expression, having the ability to hold and see all. But all those before that one, I think there's a lot of testing ground for fives as parents. Excuse me. Sorry. And being more Enneagram aware is going to serve you really well as a 5. And the fact that you're here looking for information is probably awesome. So the high side of our 5s, fantastic skill, I think, to have as a parent. You're calm in a crisis. Um, I'm gonna throw in a little story from quite a few years ago. I was at a barbecue, neighborhood barbecue, and one of the kids, most of the parents were in the back. A couple of them were in the front of the house, and in the front of the house there was a softball game going on. These were little ones. They were, the biggest one was probably 10, and most of them were like closer to 5, 6. Ball hits a window breaks, shards of glass come down from the second story. One of the kids is under. Yeah. Yeah, it was okay, but he didn't need stitches, but there was blood.
Mhm.
And to see, the screaming, blah, 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 parents come running, everything, and to see the different levels of, and this was when I didn't know the Enneagram, had no clue. But what I did know was every parent there, parents of the child and the other parents as well, everybody responded differently, right? But the parent in any crisis, the parent who is calm in the crisis, let's not talk about what's going to happen after the crisis, but because that's usually when the 5 will fall apart. But in the crisis, the 5 focus, laser focus on what has to be done now. And they can show, and 5s get a bad rap, and some of my 5s have commented about this, and this particular show, not bashing 5s. And I try not to bash anybody, um but 5s apparently do get bashed for not feeling. And it's not that they don't feel. it's that they can focus. And that's in the highest expression, that's the calm and the crisis, right? So how we bring what we bring is really what matters. So if you're bringing it in a higher expression, these are good qualities. Um, Fives are also in their higher expression wise people. They're insightful. They can usually see what others can't. They can bring clarity to other people because of that. Um, Sharp minds, they can also go deep. They're capable of being neutral. That's the omniscience of the five. They can see and hold all. Um, they often see what others will miss, which can be crucial sometimes. Um,
Mhm.
they're intuitive and they're really good at non-attachment, which I want to be really clear, and Julie, jump in. Non-attachment is not the same as
Detachment.
detachment.
That's right. That's
So,
right. Non-attachment is not abandonment.
yeah, yeah,
Non-attachment is, I haven't accumulated enough information to see if I want to attach to you,
yeah,
or
yeah,
this,
yeah,
or that.
yeah, yeah. We're just observe it. And
Mhm.
I'm not done culling my information. I'm still in the discernment process, need more information. So if you're a five who can also detach, which is the unhealthy, we're going to get to the low side in a minute. But if you're a five and you know you can ride the fence on that and sometimes go to the bad place with, being detached, um, be aware of how that makes other people feel. So when fives do get that bad rap for being, robotic or unemotional or not having a heart or, whatever they throw at you, ask yourself, am I doing that? Am I causing people to see me as a detached robot, right? Because that is a lower expression of
Because
the
if a
five.
child feels that their parent has detached,
Yeah.
that is the most painful way of
Devastating.
raising a child,
Yeah. Yeah.
of most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But mm,
Yeah.
for children, that's very intentional. It's
Hmm.
very manipulating and controlling, and
Hmm.
it's not the same as not rewarding bad behavior,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah. And then that child whose type isn't formed until they're 21, right? They're going to probably try to figure out how to then get their needs met in that space of you've completely detached from me. So how do I fill what feels empty? And there's nine answers to that.
and
Um,
love is conditional. So,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So so until we know our Enneagram, if you're not a parent yet, like you've kind of been rolling this way and you might do this, but now that you're a parent, you have, I'm gonna say, an obligation to start knowing yourself a little better. And not to say that the Enneagram's the only way to do that, but it is what I do. So one of the things that I do to help people become more self-aware. So the low side of five, we call it avarice or greed. And what fives like to hoard, two things: information or time. Um, that could be a real trap for a five, who's in their shadow and doesn't understand that we all have these higher or lower choices in life. Um, Boundaries are awesome for kids. Boundaries are awesome, period. That's biased, I know, but I think boundaries are just healthy, but children need them, right?
Mhm.
They're learning how to have boundaries. Fives can be the kings and the queens of boundaries to an unhealthy degree, though. Rigid boundaries, tight boundaries. If you're getting trapped in that, that's a lower expression of your five. That's a checking point.
If your boundaries are brick walls with drawbridges and moats filled with alligators, your boundaries could be chain link fences so you can see
Yeah.
what's on the other side, and
Yeah.
there is some room for exchange,
Yeah.
and there is a way to open it more easily
Yeah.
than it being
Yeah.
completely shut off.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, in your lower side, as a 5, you don't do emotions, you do facts. So I would say good luck with a kid on that one. Most kids are gonna be doing emotions. So uh, find it within your 5 energy to know how to do emotions. Usually with a 5, that's gonna look like um some kind of a 2 energy, because there is a relationship between 2 and 5. There's a line in the Enneagram. It's actually not visible, it's not drawn. Um, but what that can look like, the doing how 5s do facts more than emotions. If 5s give information, share information, help others with information. So a lot of times this can look like teaching a child. Um, Teaching what you know, what you love, sharing that. It's drawing that 2 energy, marrying it to the 5's, love of information. Um, but that can be the difference between doing emotions or doing facts, but actually putting them together. Because you can bring love into sharing information. Um, so yeah, so if you fall into that low side of you just don't do emotions, you don't do heart stuff, I do facts, that's a place where you can bend. Sharing your love of whatever it is that you love, in terms of knowledge, sharing that with your kid. Um,
Or even just teaching your child to love getting information,
yeah,
loving to learn,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they can make their own decisions.
Yeah, yeah, totally. One of my favorite, and I was probably about 8 years old. One of my favorite trips with my mom was not a big trip. We walked to the library. Um, and I was like, you wonder like how much of my 5 was already cultivated there, but like I remember that day, and I
Wow.
remember coming home with a book. It was my first library book. I had books, that were given to me, or books that we bought, but that was like my first library book. That was my first, like, wow, I could get a book and like bring home a book and like bring it back in 2 weeks and get another book. And it's like, but that was like a big day for me. And I don't know, I still don't know why she said, well, we're going to the library that day, because she just decided to take me to the library. Well, I don't know. So yeah, teach your kids how to get information and make their own decisions. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so in their lower expressions, lower expression 5s can also look sarcastic and cynical. So if your parenting starts to take on that shade, that's something to pause and be with and examine, because you're in your lower 5 if that happens. If you feel that you don't have enough energy, and I say you feel that you don't, because usually 5s do. Sometimes they're actually legitimately tired and exhausted, but typically they have enough energy, but their perception is they're low on energy. So if you're starting to feel like that, that's some lower expression. Um, or if you're just getting robotic about life, um, you know, going through the motions, not addressing feelings, not, you know, your child comes home and they're tearful and you just don't have bandwidth to even, there's no discussion around it, you know. It's, we have to do this or we have to do that or do your homework, or if you're getting robotic about that, and things that are emotional, or worthy of emotions, not just emotional things, but things where emotions could be invited in and you don't do them and you're robotic. um, Take a look at that. So Julie and I have talked about opportunities to teach, and I wanted to be fair to all 9 types, because each of the 9 types is a reflection of the divine, right? So every one of the 9 types, every one of the 9 faces of God has something to teach us. But we kept going back to this idea of teaching discernment. And I know I have a type bias around this, so as a 5. Julie's not a 5. So I'm going to
Yeah.
hand this over to you, Julie.
But the 5s aren't going to like my answers. Okay, so about teaching discernment,
Yeah, yeah. Why is that especially important?
because we need to teach, right? We need to teach. It's helpful to teach um, people, little people especially, that accumulating information is not scary. Children always think they need to make a decision, and that's not the first thing that happens. You don't have to decide. Usually, so decisions are not have to be instantaneous. You have time. And the reasons they're reluctant to make those decisions, teach those teach those people that that's because you have a question about it. That's because you don't have enough information. That's because you're waiting for more knowledge to make a good decision, right? And so that can also teach children that you are allowed to look at options. It doesn't have to be scary. And once you have enough information, you'll make a decision. If you're focusing on the decision, it can be terrifying for a 5.
Yeah,
And there's some other types as well,
yeah, yeah.
and just a people thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you've never learned how to make a decision, you're asked a question, and if you don't decide fast enough, you're not teaching your kids to value the knowledge and the seeking of the information.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell my clients who get stuck there is, you'll make a decision once you have enough information, so
Yeah,
don't sweat it.
yeah.
And that it can empower you to go, "Ah, okay." And sometimes in 3 more minutes, you know the answer,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Because
yeah.
it doesn't feel pressury,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't feel like it's right or wrong. And I imagine that's a thing that's a struggle with the 5, because it is so information based.
Mm-hmm.
That part is the value and the education that we get,
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, I totally got distracted. I see it, not a
Mm-hmm.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where was I? What was I even talking?
The uh, I was about to ask you a different question.
Do that then.
Um, I was going to go to the pros and cons list and being wrong. So
Yes,
you were
that's
talking about
it.
that 3-minute pause, and how you can just get everything, like all of a sudden you got it because there's no pressure on you.
Yes.
So and again, as a 5, there's a bias here. I am the queen of the pros and cons list, have been since probably high school. Okay. But then you can go back to your pros before you make your decision. No decisions allowed, right? You just have your pros and cons. And this is very much head type stuff. And I just, while you were talking, I had an idea of how we could change the pros and cons list to work for everybody. But you can now go back to your pros and cons list. Your decision is not made yet. And you can say, oh, you know what? I thought that was a pro. Not really. I'm crossing it out. So it gives you the liberty of, even though you've got your list, it's still not a that's what discernment is. It's like, I don't have to be right. And, like that's the thing with the 5s versus the 1s. The 1s have to be good. The 5s don't care if they're good. They want to be right. They want to be technically correct. So that, again, for me, I don't know about the other 5s out there. If you do lists, let us know. But crossing out script, like it's your canvas.
Mhm.
Scratch out what doesn't work. But I was thinking, because we had kicked this around before the recording, that's probably not going to work for a heart type, maybe work for a body type, probably not too well, but definitely the heart type's going to. So what if you added a column to your pros and cons, right?
Mhm.
How do I feel? Where does my body weigh in?
And how will I feel after,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Kind of like the
Because
tally at the bottom of the list.
who's the
Hmm.
one who avoids pain at all costs?
7.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if that's a
Yeah.
afterwards, I'm gonna feel alone if I cut these people out of my life. Is that heavy enough? Does that have enough points to make me not do that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
is it nah, it's okay.
Yeah. And then how do I work through that? What's the next step of how sitting with pain if it were a 7? Yeah. Yeah. For the 5, getting back to the 5, it's the price of isolation. Because the thing with 5s is they can do like isolation doesn't feel, I mean, I can speak to that when we were all isolated during COVID. My 2 and 4 friends were like, couldn't handle it. The 3s pretty much all went online and performed there. It's
They'll find a
but yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah. But for the 5s, it's like, yeah, oh, this is like a relief.
Uh-huh.
We didn't want to do it forever though, and that's where the risk of isolation. So if you're doing that pros and cons list of these people really are not healthy for me, they've got to go. It's going to make me isolated. Well, at first you're like, yeah, okay, no biggie. But 2 years later, 3 years later, what's the ramifications of that? Would it still be the healthiest thing for me? Yeah,
Right.
so that's that discernment. It's
Mhm.
yeah, and I know we kind of went off on a tangent there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, but I think it's good because it gets back to the where we started with this is teaching your child how to discern. And
Mhm.
our own process, I think discernment should be messy. Um, I don't know. It
Well,
is for
and
me.
it also teaches people to focus, not focus, to gather information about what is going to be the consequence,
Hmm.
right? Because that also teaches us to let's not be impulsive because
Right.
there are potential consequences.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah.
wait a minute, if I do that, that's cool for now, but 2 years, 3 years down the road, maybe that's not cool. So maybe instead of not getting rid of these toxic people, I go, I got to get rid of those, but I have to cultivate some other friendships
Hmm.
or
Hmm. Yeah.
relationships, even.
Yeah. And what do I want
So,
those to look like? How do I get my
mhm,
needs met in a healthy way now?
mhm,
Because until we know better, we don't,
mhm.
you know. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's tremendous to teach kids. And again, I'm so hesitant to say that one type has something more worthy to teach children than another type because there's again 9 faces that are equal. But I just think with kids, man, if you want to give a kid something they'll have for the rest of their life that they can treasure more than diamonds, I think that would be it.
Mhm. Well, and all 9 types can teach discernment,
Yes,
just you
absolutely.
teach
Yeah.
it differently
Yep.
and maybe not be as comfortable with it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a cool thing for people to do some exploration on. What is
Yeah.
your Enneagram type and how are you going to teach that?
Yeah. 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 And if there's 2 parents in the household as well, because unless you're the same type,
Yes.
and then there's the other pieces, even if you are the same type, depending on your wing, depending on your subtype, nobody's ever an identical twin, pretty much.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, bring it all in, bring in all your gifts. I mean, this work is so important. Um, And again, getting back to relationships and children, having children changes relationships, as you said in the last episode, your relationship to yourself, your partner, family, extended family, all of that. And again, I don't want to say it's the only way to develop yourself, but it's a really good one. So, all right.
Yes, it
So,
is.
mhm. So when stressed, a 5 will go across the Enneagram map to 7, and they will look like a stressed out 7. So typically for 5s, that's going to be something information based that you've got a lot of things open. So it could be a lot of tabs open on your computer. It could be 10 books on your night table and you've got all of them, you're reading all of them, but you're really not reading any of them because you're all over the place. There's a restlessness, too many projects, feeling overwhelmed by projects. It can grow into addictive behavior, that extra glass of wine, maybe over shopping at the mall, maybe overindulging in sweets, or, it could be something, more serious than any of those. Um, it could look like escaping the moment because 7s don't like to do pain. So if you're trying to escape something that feels uncomfortable, um, not being willing to sit with your discomfort, that's a pretty stressed out 5s, because 5s are usually pretty good being in the moment. So if you're
Mhm.
doing any of those things, you're probably stressed. Your buttons are not just being pressed, they've been pressed. And this is where you've landed. In their security type, when they're trying to attain a goal and they're healthy and whole, this person's going to look more like an 8. I keep doing this. Let me go back to the 7. I apologize. The 7, the epicure, the adventurer, the person that likes to do all the things. So when you're stressed, that's what the 5 is going to look like. When you're secure, looking to meet a goal, healthy and whole, you're going to look like an 8, which is the leader or the challenger. So you're going to uh, have an energy of being solid in your presence, um, safe leadership, um,
Calm. Yeah.
calm, but a solid calm.
Like the
Definitely
kind that
calm.
instills confidence in the people around you.
Yeah, because it's through your, like you enter with that confidence.
Mhm.
It's not an overbearing. This is the healthy. You're going to come in like a healthy 8. This is the 8 that's going to look for the underdog and pull them up with you, take them under your arm. They're the safety net. Um, they're direct communicators. They're clear communicators. When you're engaged with a healthy 8, you know what's on the table. They're also protective. So
All good parenting skills.
I think so. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very good things to model. Um, so yeah, so just kind of be aware of where you're falling as a 5, if you're behaving more like a 7, um, if you've done your work, you'll have the ability to move into a secure 8. Um, can you even wrap your brain around that as a 5? Sometimes that's tough, to even see yourself, um, in a healthy 8 energy. Um, so some advice for 5s, and this holds true for all 9. Say what you need. And I think the 2 types that need to hear this more than anybody is the 5 and the 2, and maybe the 9. But we're going to focus on the 5 right now. Say what you need. Um, that quiet time. When you think your head's good, because again, your head types, right? When you're saturated, you've just had a day, perhaps. Johnny's just come home and he's had a day, and his day is way more important than your day from where Johnny's standing. Okay. And your head is like out to here, and you have no access to anything below your shoulders. And kind of what you said before about in that 3-minute gap when you relax, all of a sudden stuff, right? In 5 minutes to decompress, you can get some clarity and some bandwidth and meet the moment that you could not meet 5 minutes before. And all you have to say is, I need the 5 minutes. Can we do this right now while I do that? And when you say 5 minutes, mean it.
Yes,
Don't make it 10.
right.
Don't make it a half hour. Um,
And don't make it one.
yeah, 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 because you don't want to mix up the messages, first of all, and you want to seem safe and reliable, because that's also part of what you're modeling. You're modeling a boundary, and fives are excellent at those boundaries, right? But we want to do healthy boundaries. So healthy boundaries look like definition.
Mhm.
Um, and also saying, when you get the questions of, can I have this now? Or can we do this now? Fives more than anyone need to think, I say we're on tape delay, right? Because something else is most likely running through there at the same moment, right? So, and then this is the parent that says yes, and then like 10 minutes later, what the hell did I ever do that for?
Right.
And now you've just started the roller coaster, right?
Or says no, and now how do you undo the no?
Undo it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And look safe and consistent and, reliable, all those things.
Mhm.
So just, it gets back to that 5-minute pause, right? Just say, I need to think about it. And I'm going to think about it for 5 minutes. I'm going to think about it for a day. It depends on how big the thing is, right? So ask for, let the child know that there are needs that have to be met, and define them. So I need to think about this, and tell them you may need a day or whatever. Don't just shut down. You have your process. We all do. 9 different types. But five's process is very internal. Um, it can look abrupt. It can look standoffish. So just be aware that if it looks like you're shutting down, a little bit of a disclaimer can go a long way, because the shutting down can look like you did something wrong and mom just shut down or dad just shut down, and I don't know what I did wrong. Um, where if mom or dad just says, I need some processing time. This is just how I work. It's not how you work. It's not how the neighbor next door works. It's how I work, and it's what I need. So don't just shut down and shut out. Don't do that to anybody, but when you do that to a kid, it's painful because they
Mhm.
don't understand. Um,
And it makes the world unsafe.
totally. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you have to assume you did something wrong to make the parent do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so and and this one I'm gonna add in because I am a five, and it gets to that. I shouldn't have to say this because I'm a five, but what I find is too many people overlook this one, and it has to do with the high side of five being intuitive. We say it, we put it on the list, and no one ever then takes it out of the box and plays with it. Okay, so we're going to take it out of the box and play with it. You are the parent you're going to know stuff. You're going to know stuff about that kid, what that kid is thinking, what that kid is doing that maybe you don't want them doing. Okay, you are gonna
Yes.
know stuff.
Mm.
And you're gonna have to figure out how to engage that in a
Sometimes I
healthy.
hate going to my five and knowing that.
So this is what I'm going to turn over to you, Julie, because what would you tell this parent? Because what are the pitfalls?
Well, the pitfalls are your kid isn't going to open up to you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You say, I know this isn't going to happen, right? Or this is going to happen, or you need to,
Mm,
right? You could say, huh, I'm feeling something about this, right? I'm feeling a little concerned. I'm afraid maybe you haven't thought about all the consequences of this. Or, oh, my gut just says maybe today isn't the day to do that thing.
mm.
Like, you know, so that you can have a voice, you feel like you can say something, but you're not just telling your kid, trust me, I know. Because they're going to shut down,
That's not gonna
especially
work.
as teenagers.
Yeah. So
And you don't want to create that as when they're young.
Yeah, because then there's formatting that you can't undo. Um, I have talked to my 5 directees about curiosity, because 5s are curious people. Because they're trying to learn things, right? So you got to be curious if you want to learn things, right?
Be
So
curious,
I
not
say,
judgmental.
yeah, yeah. So I say curiosity, when welcomed in a healthy way, can be inviting spirit into the dialogue, right? So I would wonder, instead of saying, well, you know what, I have a bad feeling, or, I'm concerned, because I just feel like those are negative 6 words.
Mm.
But, and valid, valid. But I'm wondering if I'd be concerned about signaling low 6 stuff. Um, but what if you said, I'm curious about that. Can you show me your thought process? Because it gets back to that learning.
Oh, right.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the kid, the age, how much, what your relationship is to this point. If you've
Well,
got an
it's a good way of
angst,
saying, have you thought about the consequences?
yeah, it's like, show me them instead of have
Uh-huh.
you, yeah, yeah. But I think if you're dealing with an angst-ridden teen and you're in that battlefield place of just hormonal whatever, it probably isn't going to work.
No.
But if you can start doing that when they're younger, and using your 5 spidey senses, but not making them look or feel like spidey senses, make it a game. I'm kind of curious about that. What can you teach me about how you got there? I think 5s can do that better than most people. Um, I don't know.
Well, and then when they're older, you've laid that groundwork for what's your thought process? What's your thought
Yeah,
process? You had a thought process,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So whether they, are always sharing or not, you have some confidence as a parent knowing that
Yeah,
our child has learned to discern what is
yeah, yeah. That hopefully
their
it's a
choice.
skill set that they've taken with them.
Hmm.
Um, I think at a super young age that could be tremendous. Um, I'm constantly complaining that there's just no more critical thinking in this world.
Oh,
So
I see a lot of that.
yeah, yeah. So if any of the 9 types are going to teach a kid how to do critical thinking, I think 5s can do that. Please do that, 5s.
Right?
Um, yeah. So and for the 5s out there who have some suggestions, please drop a comment about this, and because this is how everybody learns. But yeah, that intuitive piece of, and you don't, as a 5, any type, but you don't, if you're an intuitive person, period, paragraph, don't let anybody force you to put that intuition on a shelf. Um,
Amen.
yeah,
It's who you
yeah,
are.
yeah. And figure out how to bring it into your, in this context, into the relationship with your child. Um, so that they get to see you trusting your intuition. But everybody, all the 9 types have intuition, just a question of, who has it step out, closer to center stage. um but it gets them in touch with not just how to find knowledge, how to discern what they, it connects them with that innate sense that we should all have, and gives them permission to follow it in a healthy way, not a fear-based superstitious way. I think that's probably what I was getting at before with the potential for a low 6, because I think it could, um the superstitious energy could be
Mm.
not knowing the child's formatting to this point, you um so yeah. um Julie and I, before the episode, had also kicked around how realistic it was, because I questioned this as a 5, to have, like, I don't know, once a week, a half hour scheduled family quiet time, introspective time, whatever you want to call it, but like a time where if you want to read, if you want to do a puzzle, you had mentioned doing chalk drawings outside, and then the key was
When
everybody
the
then
time is
comes
up.
together. Yeah.
Mhm.
So can you speak to that? And
Sure.
I thought that was great.
I think that, well, I know that some, and I feel it, some children, that half-hour quiet time is, it's 42 days long. It's awful. They can't stand it, or I almost said we can't stand it. Um, so having a, right, knowledge is power. Having a very clearly defined, this is what we're going to do for a half hour. Everybody's going to do their thing.
Mhm.
And then we can, if you want, we could share our thing, right? So if a child takes the sidewalk chalk and goes out and does some sidewalk chalk, you go ahead and draw whatever you want to draw. You want to show me a story, whatever. And then when we're done, I'm going to come out. I'm going to reconnect with you, and you can teach me, or you can show me, right?
Yeah,
So you're teaching your child that taking a time out when you need it is really important.
yeah,
You're also teaching your child that someone taking a time out is not abandoning you.
yeah,
We're coming back together. But everybody needs what they need to recharge their batteries.
yeah.
And so, as a five, needing that downtime to recharge is important, right?
Mhm.
Some people, their recharging way is different. And maybe for that kid, it's, I get an opportunity to show you what I'm doing, or
Yeah,
to share with you what I'm doing,
yeah,
because
yeah,
they will show you and they will tell you a whole lot. So
yeah,
if you focus on, my kid is giving me information, instead of, oh my gosh, I have to look at these stupid chalk drawings again, and it's the same thing again. Yeah, but one day it isn't going to be the same,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yep,
one day they're going to teach you something
yep,
that you did not
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And you're showing them that you can listen, you can be taught. They have knowledge, they have power, they have some control,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And
So
I'm
it's
just
a good way to
thinking,
open conversations
yeah, yeah,
and explore some creativity, which
yeah, yeah. I'm just
a five
thinking
might
like,
not always show.
right, yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking like depending on like if they draw something and give it to you, like it's an expression of, their type isn't formed yet, but it's an expression of potentiality of it too, right? Um,
Mhm.
a seven drawing or doing the chalk drawing, whatever, of this whole adventure. And it's just an expression. Again, it's expressions of divinity within your child that are beginning to form the personality that's beginning to form. Then you're giving them that opportunity while having your needs met for that quiet time,
Mhm.
but you're enabling them to develop and
Yes.
develop skills and silence or quiet time, introspective time is healthy and necessary in life.
Yes. And if your child is a child who's creative, you're teaching them that it's important to make time for
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because there are so many children who are not encouraged to be creative.
right.
We have a schedule and
Yep,
we have to do this and we have
yep,
to do that. Even if you give them just a half hour a week to be
yeah.
creative,
Hmm.
they they will happen upon, they will find their thing, right? You
Yeah.
might say, how fun would that be? You could go do some sidewalk chalk and then tell me what you explain to me your drawing. And then you
Yeah.
come out and there's no drawing, but they're wearing a tutu and they say, I want to show you my new dance, right? Wow.
Yep,
That was independent thinking. They were
yep.
being creative. They were doing what meant something to them, and
Hmm.
they're willing to share it with
Share
you.
it. Hmm. Yeah,
So we have to teach children that it is okay to spend time being creative,
Yeah, yeah,
because so
absolutely.
many are
Yeah,
focused just on being productive,
yeah,
that if
yeah,
you're not an expert at it, it doesn't count.
yeah, yeah. It's so much pressure, and yeah, we'll be creating a generation of unhealthy threes and unhealthy ones, and yeah, yeah. So we don't want to do that. Um, Alrighty, I think we covered this probably more than we expected to.
So
So
it's fine since we need a lot of information.
so hoping you guys are all still with us. And if you are, thank you for being here.
Yeah, sorry.
We had fun. I had fun, I don't know. And we will be back next time with I'm not sure.
What's
I think
next?
I think we said
7 and
seven
something?
and one, and then no, I think we said 7 and 8.
7 and 8, and last one's
Okay.
the one.
Yeah. Is that what we did? I don't know. Something like that. Those are
Something like that.
we'll keep you surprised. So yeah,
I
so
like
we
that
will
better, you know. You like to know the plan. I like to be surprised.
Alrighty. Well, Julie, thank you for being here,
Thank you.
and thank you everyone for showing up. And please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Love to hear your comments. If you'd like to be on an upcoming episode to talk about your Enneagram type and parenting, let us know how you feel about the idea of being part of a monthly group on virtual space. Reach out, let us know. All right, and
Also
we
be
will
super
see
cool
you.
to have someone who was raised by a type tell you what their experience was like.
That's what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's another surprise we have coming.
Yes, yes, it's going to be a fun surprise, that's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, and we do have some of that out there. So yeah, I mean, Enneagram-aware
Yeah,
families. Yeah. And my goal is to create more Enneagram families. So so yeah, but if you do know that how one type shapes another, and even if you don't, even if you just suspect
mhm,
what type your parent led with or leads with, that can be plenty right there.
mhm.
So yeah, and we're always open to bringing in the astrology piece as far as your sun signs
You
and
bet.
how that might merge with your Enneagram type, and it's all overlap. It's definitely all overlap of patterns. So yeah, so any and all of those conversations are welcome. So yeah, we will see you next time. All right. Thank you
Awesome.
again. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.